Instantly, the scrolls emitted an eerie, pulsing blue light, and Huan watched, frozen in terror, realizing he was witnessing true magic. Drenched in cold sweat, he wondered just how deep into this cruel and sinister world he had been cast. After a brief whispered discussion between a soldier and the village chief, the chief turned his attention to Huan, the sole survivor of the group. Zhiguan looked up, his mind a blur of confusion and dread, completely unaware of what his fate would be. Meanwhile, back at the small wooden cabin, an elderly village woman arrived to see Rigi. She brought a heavy bag of provisions, instructing Rigi to take them with her. When she returned to the mountain house and explaining that the village would supply them with food for a short time, the old woman gave a blunt warning. She must remember that this new husband would not understand her language, and that every scrap of aid would eventually have to be repaid. Without mincing words, she confessed that no one in the village had actually liked Rigi's late husband. They had only tolerated his violence because the village lacked hunters. But this time was different. The man Rigi was about to receive might have been a commoner, but the soldiers whispered that while his face was rugged, his hands and feet were as soft and unmarred as a nobleman's. Taking Rigi's hand, the old woman tried to reassure her. By the look of Huan's unworked hands, they could trust he wasn't a brute, and if he worked well, they might finally live in comfort. Rigi, however, lowered her head, her voice thick with sorrow. She told the woman through quiet sobs that she didn't crave a comfortable life. She only prayed for a husband who wasn't violent. She would be happy if the man simply left her, and her daughter in peace in a corner of the house. At the next dawn, the fragile peace was shattered by violent pounding on the door. Rigi jolted awake, pulling her sleepy daughter into a protective embrace. Peering through a crack in the wood, she was stunned to see the village chief approaching, brutally dragging a man behind him. The chief burst inside and announced that he had brought the man she was to marry. Rigi gasped, the words "my husband" catching in her throat. As the chief barked orders at her to take him in, Huan was shoved into the room, stumbling and looking around in a daze, completely disoriented. Seeing Zhiguan wounded and exhausted, a rare flash of anger surged through Rigi. She cried out, demanding to know why they were dragging a hurt man like an animal. In that secret moment of realization, she understood that this poor, broken soul before her was indeed the man destined to be her husband. She looked at him, trembling with awe at his towering, massive frame, the likes of which she had never seen. Huan tilted his head slightly, his gaze clouded with confusion as he watched her reaction. Then a spark of recognition hit him. This terrified woman was the same one who had offered him the bread. He was left even more bewildered, unable to fathom why she was trembling at the sight of him. In that moment, the village chief grew impatient. He grabbed Zhiguan's hand, snapping at him for standing there paralyzed. Without waiting for a response, he hauled the giant man toward the two worried figures. The chief shoved Zhiguan until he was pressed right against Rigi, attempting to arrange them like a set of dolls. Seeing them both still rigid with fear and confusion, he forced their hands together, lacing Huan's fingers with Rigi's. He declared with a satisfied grunt that they